Hey y'all. Okay, so let's make some more videos. My Wi-Fi is way better at school than it is at home. So I'm trying to take advantage of it before I teach. Okay, so still 9.3 homework. Let's look at something called the additive inverse. The additive inverse. So if they ask you to give the additive inverse of a number, in the problem, it'll also ask you to give the absolute value of the number. And say, for an example, they want, let's say, give additive inverse. That'll be for our first part of the problem. It'll say, and the second part of the problem will be to give the absolute value of a number. And the number that they give us is 6. And it's negative. So if they want to know what the additive inverse of a number, an additive inverse of a number is what makes the sum 0. So what can I add? So additive inverse is what can I add to this number that's going to make it 0. So if I do -6 plus a number and I get 0, I have its additive inverse. And the only number that I can add to -6 and get 0 would be a +6. Again, think about it like money. If I have -$6 in my bank and I add $6, I might not have any money in my bank right now, but I'm no longer negative. I got to 0. And that is what you call an additive inverse. It's something you can add to a number and you get 0. Okay. So for our B part, it wants me to find the absolute value of -6. And we did this, right? We already looked and we already saw that if you take the absolute value of a negative number, the absolute value is just that number, because it wants to know how far away is -6 from 0? How many units? How many spaces? How many times? On the number line, do I have to move over to get to -6? And it would be 6 times, 6 spaces. Okay, so that would be the additive inverse and taking the absolute value of a number. Just make sure that if it's a negative number in the absolute value bars, you just get that number. And then make sure if you have a negative sign on the outside of the absolute value bars, that one you would still keep. Let me just do an example of that one more time, just to make sure that everybody gets that. Say we're trying to find the absolute value of -74. The absolute value of 74 is 74. And don't forget the fact that on the outside we had that negative. Okay. If you see something that wants you to solve inside of the absolute value bars, you would literally do what this says to do right here, kind of like you would in parentheses. We need to do that math and then take the absolute value. So I'd have the absolute value, well, 12 minus 3 is 9. Close your absolute value bars. And the absolute value of 9 is 9. Okay. They may do some inequalities where you're going to solve the absolute value and then look to see, is it less than or equal to a number? Is it greater than or equal to a number? And those will be true and false statements. Let's do this one right here. This is determine whether an inequality is true or false. So if they ask us -18 less than or equal to negative parenthesis -7 close parenthesis. Remember in another video I said that looks like a little smiley face. And when you're smiling, you're positive. So it's a plus sign. That's the same thing as saying negative times a negative makes a positive. So on the left-hand side, I have a negative 18 less than or equal to. Now I've got my little smiley face. I've even heard some students say that it kind of looks like a broken plus sign. And if you look at it that way, this looks like a broken plus sign, right? We'll go ahead and make it a big plus sign. And then that way you could see that it's actually now a positive 7. Now it wants to know, is negative 18 less than or equal to 7? Well, it's kind of confusing because 18 is a bigger number. But again, do you want negative $18 in your bank or do you want 7? I mean, I honestly want way more than 7, but I know for a fact I do not want negative 18, right? That's because it's less than, it's smaller than 7. So read it again. This is saying, is negative 18 less than or equal to 7? That's true. Okay. Okay, y'all, I'm going to post this video also. Okay, we did the additive inverse. Additive inverse. What do I need to add to this number to get 0? Okay, so let's do another one real quick. Let's say we do the additive inverse of 37. Well, what can I add to that to get 0? Let's look at our A part of problem 1. Why did I do C? This would actually be problem 2. If you look at our A part of problem 1, I had a negative 6, and what I added to it was the same number but a different sign, right? They kind of canceled each other out. That's what inverse means, is that they do kind of do that canceling action. So if I look at a positive 37, what can I add to that to make it 0? Well, it would be the same number, but it would be a negative 37. I have $37 in my bank and I spend, I subtract, I minus $37 from my bank, I get 0. Okay, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and post this one too. I like them actually posting and not having 20, 25-minute long videos, and they don't post. Thank y'all. Bye.